How's it going, everyone? Sorry the video's a bit later than planned. I've been viewing houses amongst other things, so today's video is very important because it's truthful information in my opinion. The video you are about to watch is Belynda Gray, Lily and Jack's grandmother. This is Belynda's very first time on the YouTube channel It's Crime Ain't Shame. It was around 5.5 hour live, and I've left the most important questions, answers and opinions in for you. Also, if there's a question in the chat you have for Darren, you will have more of a chance of him answering if you ask him respectfully. Now, I'm not saying he will answer, I'm just saying you will have more of a chance.
So, Belynda, I just want to say that I'm so happy that you're here today. I know that I've asked you a couple times to come up and you weren't ready then. And this time you were. And I know that, like I said, everyone out there is behind you because this is a fight for Jack and Lily. That's what it's about. That's the whole intent of course, this case is to find out what happened to Jack and Lily and get answers. So, Belynda, with that being said, I'll let you talk now so you can say hey to everyone on this one. And again, just go ahead and say whatever you'd like at the start. Talk about, you said about your son there, Cody, and you wanted to get that off the plate. So we'll start with that as well, okay? But thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm Belynda. I am Lily and Jack's grandmother. Cody Sullivan is my son. There's been a lot of rumors, speculation, and talk concerning my son, and I really do want to clear that up because it has nothing to do with Jack and Lily finding them or what happened to them. My son has been living here for 11 months now. I keep getting stuck on 9, but it's been 11 months now. And he does not have a criminal record whatsoever. He has never been out west. And he has had nothing to do with the children for 3 years. Him and Malaya were together for 3.5 years. Their relationship went downhill really fast after Jack was born. Malaya told me that she was not happy. She definitely wanted out of the relationship. And we supported her 100%. My son, I don't know if it was the pressures of trying to support a family. I'm not sure what happened, but he started drinking a lot, started doing the drugs, and in the end, he just didn't care. And she got tired of it and left. She went to court for full custody, and she went to court for child support payments, and he was paying child support right up until 11 months ago now, when he lost his job, lost his apartment, and lost his vehicle, and that's why he's home. Now that we have that out of the way, does it suck? Yes, it does. I make no excuses for him, but he is my son, and I love him with all my heart. And that's what I want to say about him. Now I want to know why everybody seems to be talking about everybody else, and I find Lily and Jack are getting lost in the background. Yeah, there's where I stand.
And go ahead and say your piece on that if you don't mind, Belynda, on about that, because you're right. They get lost in the noise, and it's about Jack and Lily, but they get lost in the noise and a lot of misinformation and that. So how are you exactly you feeling about everything that's going on in the true crime world and stuff like that?
This has been a real eye-opener for the true crime world. I had no knowledge that this part even existed. When I found out that they were missing, I thought they were lost in the woods. I thought they were lost in the woods right up until we went there Saturday morning. and
Yeah.
seeing where Malaya lived, seeing Malaya herself. And I still thought, well, the children must be up in the woods. There was a lot of woods. You could see the kids' toys all over the yard. You knew they well played there. Malaya was pretty, I'm not sure if it's shock, but she was very flat, non-emotional flat. I put it down to shock, that she just didn't know what to do, and she kept saying she didn't know what to do. I asked if those were the doors that the children went out, and she said yes, and she opened and closed them to show me how quiet they were, which I did find a little strange. I asked her around what time she seen them, and she said she never seen them since Thursday night when she put them to bed. I asked her what time she thought they got up, and she said between 8 and 8:30. But she said she didn't see them. She heard them out in the other room playing. She never said what room. She just said she heard them out in the room playing, and she drifted off to sleep. And when she woke up again, she didn't hear nothing, and she realized that the place was just too quiet. So they got up and they searched. She said they searched the house, they searched the yard, and then I think she said Daniel went off in the truck to search. So I asked her, I said, we're here to search. So you know your kids, you're the mom. Moms know their kids. You know what takes their interest, where they like to go around the yard, where you have to get after them all the time. And she said they always like to play up by their fort. So I told her we would start up there. So we headed out, and that's where we started. I never met Daniel that day. She told me that he was out searching. He's been searching since they've been gone. I did see her mom in the Daniel's mom, sorry. I seen Janie in the driveway. He had another woman with her. I wasn't sure who it was at the time. And I did see Justin outside at the time.
Okay.
I have a
Belynda,
question.
go ahead.
For obviously for Belynda, but and I don't know if Sunny is going to talk about this at all, but for me, with Darren's story, with what he says he knows, my question is, you said Malaya came across as unemotional and flat, but had all of that just gone down on Friday, and now she's swarmed with police and searchers and everything, did you notice, looking back, any kind of nerves or any kind of angst going on with her or anybody around her that Saturday morning when you showed up?
She was totally, a good way to put it was she looked totally lost. She had Meadow on her hip. She was holding Meadow, and she looked totally lost. Her grandmother was sitting in the living room. As for the people around her, I know when we come into the driveway, Janie was sitting on some kind of a bench thing or something in the driveway, and I can't remember who the woman was beside her. There was a policewoman standing there, and the policewoman was talking to them. We couldn't make out what she was saying until we got up closer. And Janie was really crying a lot. And this woman was saying to her, "It's okay, Mom. They're not blaming you. They just want to look in your trailer. They're not blaming you. They just need to make sure that there's nothing in the trailer." And she went on to say that there was nothing in the trailer. She didn't want them around her dog. And the policewoman told her that she was impeding an investigation and she would have to get a search warrant. And then I thought, well, we'll just continue on into the trailer. That was the only thing I found just a little strange, that I was wondering what that was all about. When I got inside the trailer and after I had hugged Malaya, I mean, I took to crying. Now, I didn't notice because I wasn't watching, but my sister stated that she noticed Malaya wasn't crying at all. She didn't have any tears, that she was very non-emotional. That after the hugging, and I stated about the woman outside that was upset, and she told me that that was Daniel's mother, and that she was having a hard time, and she said that was Daniel's brother. And I told her I seen the resemblance, so I figured they were related. She did tell me who the other person was, but I can't remember.
It
And
wasn't
that
Logan, was it?
I met Logan, I think we were there Saturday. I don't remember Logan Saturday. I seen her in passing, but not to talk to her. I talked to Logan on Monday.
Were you there for the argument? I'm sorry, Sunny, I'm totally taking over. This is my last question.
I was not there for the argument. When we were there Saturday, when we were getting ready to leave, we were in the woods searching. We come back out. I went back in to let her know that we were finished basically for the day. That was in kind of late afternoon. And we come back out when we were sitting in the car because, I mean, it was pretty miserable in the woods. So we were kind of breaking in the car. I seen Cindy drive up. She had some woman with her, and her husband was also there. They went into the house. Then this vehicle pulled up and this gentleman got out, and he introduced himself as the chief, but I'm not sure of what reserve he was talking about. I can't remember that. But he did say he was the chief and he was looking for Malaya. So I took him to Malaya's, and he went in. So my sister and I decided, well, we'll do searching just up the other road further. So we did. When we come back, I stopped in again, and the chief and Malaya, and there was one or two other people around the table, and I thought I heard him say about a prayer circle, and they were on like a conference thing on his phone, and I could hear words in the background and that. So I kind of made my leave at that point, and I left. And then me and my sister headed out. So the only thing I can assume is we had just missed the big fight or whatever it was. We must have just missed it.
Or it hadn't happened yet, because from my understanding, they had the big blowout, and then 5 minutes after that, they got in the vehicle and left, right? And Logan was there at that point, so maybe it happened after that. Like, I'm just trying to piece together that day. But thank you so much for answering my question, Sunny. Sunny, it's your show.
No,
You do
you know,
you do.
because I was going to say we will come back to all of this, but before we get on with Bev, and because Bev's in the United Kingdom, you guys, so her time right now is like 11 o'clock at night, so we will come back to this. So Belynda, but before I go to Bev and you guys and Bev can talk about her different situations or theories and or whatever you call it there, Bev. Scenarios, there's the words. Just a couple of things, if you don't mind, that I saw in chat. Can you please tell people that the text between yourself and Malaya and yourself and Daniel, that those were actual texts that we've shown that you've provided that information, just to clarify for some people that are just asking, just for clarification.
Yes, all the texts that you have shown have come from my phone. I know a lot of people are a little put out because Daniel did ask me to keep one part a secret and not to tell anybody. But at that point in time, I had seen Daniel out speaking everything out to the public on what he was thinking was taking place. And I thought, well, he hasn't told me anything in these texts. that should be a secret. There was nothing there. So I figured, why is anybody keeping a secret? These kids are missing. What does it matter if the police think you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that? Let them worry about their investigation. Let everybody else that was there and knows something talk about anything they know.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, thank you for that. And then I'm just going to ask one more thing, if you don't mind. Or okay, actually, quickly, two things. RCM, with Darren's putting out this information, how are you personally feeling about this perhaps storyline or the information that he's putting out there? Are you happy with it? Or are you? Go ahead.
It is a good story. I think about it and I can make it make sense. I can see how it can look like it makes sense. Going by the CPS, going by Malaya's marks of she's protecting Meadow from CPS. I never got a chance to ask her, was she protecting Meadow from CPS because Daniel was due to have visitation? Or was she protecting CPS because she was afraid she was going to lose Meadow? That part doesn't make sense. They gave her custody of Meadow. So I can only go with the fact that she was upset that Daniel was going to get visitation. As for Darren's story, I did like the idea. I mean, of course, finding the kids, yeah, great. And I was starting to buy it. And then I started thinking of all the original talks, of all the times Daniel had spoken, of what Malaya had said to me. And it just didn't make sense to me in the end. So I don't see it.
Okay, appreciate that. You guys, this is Belynda, the paternal grandmother of Jack and Lilly. That's why we're here. That's what it is all about. So Belynda, you guys was gracious enough. This is her first time on a YouTube platform. I see there's 653 people watching again. Please don't do it for the channel's sake. Do it for the missing and the murdered. And in this case, do it for Jack and Lilly and Belynda and all the other family members that truly want to find answers. Your simple little touch on that like button gets it out into the algorithm. That's what she's asking for, is please just keep sharing their pictures, keep talking about it, and just putting their faces out there. So if you guys could do that for Belynda. I see that there's 170 likes right now. 180. You guys are awesome. Thank you. And so we're at 658 people. So please just keep splashing that, putting your DNA on that. So now I'm going to leave this to Bev now, between Bev and Belynda. And so Bev, did you want to speak first and talk about what you've been doing or working on? And go ahead.
Yeah, I can do. So I suppose, first of all, I want to say thank you, Sunny and Shah, for everything that you're doing, because it's amazing how much you're keeping Jack and Lily's name out there. And Belynda, I am just so sorry that you're having to go through this. And thank you for taking the time to speak to us, because it means a massive amount to everybody who's been following the case. I think it really, really does. It certainly means a lot to me to hear your take on it. And I think you've been, because you're slightly removed from the situation, you're a little bit more independent. So obviously you're kind of more of a source of truth and clarity about what happened and what's going on. You've not got a stake in the game, really, have you? So I really, really do appreciate it. What I've been looking at, because I know that a lot of people, and definitely Kent the other day, were asking me lots of questions about, criminal offences that might have been committed, how and why Malaya needed to be supervised with Meadow, all of those things. So I've been having a look at it, and it is really, really similar to UK law, so I can describe it quite well, because I don't have to think about it from a different perspective, really. Slightly different names for things, but the same premise. So in terms of just one thing that I picked up yesterday when Darren was talking was Janie has said now that Malaya had Meadow on her hip. when she was outside. And that really confused me. And it confused me because if you already had Meadow with you and the other two children, why in the heck did you not get in the car at the same time if your goal is to get out? So that baffled me. It's got to be said. And I'm not going to give an opinion about which I think is right, you know, whether what Darren's saying is true. I certainly think he believes that it's true. Whether that's based on solid facts, I'm not sure. And obviously the other option is that something has happened to Jack and Lily. And I really don't want that to be the case, but it is a possibility. So let's have a look at what's happened and why. So in terms of Meadow and Malaya going to her mum's, there will have been three options of how she was to be supervised. So we know, Darren made it clear yesterday, she was being supervised by her mum, not by CPS, and that makes absolute sense, because if you think the amount of cases that CPS have got involvement in, if they had to supervise anybody just 24/7, they wouldn't have any staff to deal with the other cases. So there are three different possibilities. One is a temporary care agreement. That can be just an informal agreement with CPS. It's written, so it's a clear agreement about what's going to happen. But I don't think that's what was in place. And the reason is they were able to quickly take Meadow into their custody. So I think it was either an interim care and custody order or an interim supervision order. And both of those can have conditions that mean that you've got to be supervised. So they can have care and custody of Meadow, but still say that she can stay at home. We have that. We call them care orders at home. The courts don't like them. And most CPS agencies don't like it because you've got responsibility for the child, but you've not actually physically got the child to be able to protect them. So most don't like that. I'm going to bet on a supervision order with conditions that she's got to reside with a mum and she's got to be supervised. Then, when that order is breached, CPS can take the child into custody. So they're the three options there. And then in terms of offences, if Malaya did interfere with or obstruct a person from CPS in the discharge of their duties, so in other words, she's taken Meadow somewhere else when she's not supposed to, she's obstructing CPS being able to get sight of Meadow, that means she commits an offence. It's punishable by up to a £2,000 fine or 6 months in prison. And there is also another offence just in relation to Meadow that could have been committed if she interferes with or removes a child from a placement. So if there was a residence order that she had to stay at a mum's and she takes the child elsewhere, again, that's an offence and it could be punishable by £2,000 or a 6 month imprisonment. But then we've got all sorts of other things. So there could be, say for example, Malaya was scared about Daniel harming the children. She could have obtained not only a protection order for herself, she could have obtained one for the children as well. So that would then be, if he breaches that and comes into contact with the children, then he's guilty of an offence. And that's £5,000 fine or 3 months imprisonment for the first breach of that order. If you breach it again for every breach, it's a £10,000 fine or 2 years in prison. So it increases if you are a repeat breacher of the order.
Can I ask something here?
Of course you can.
I never thought of this before, but for you to remind that, right, she was being supervised by her mom. She had to be supervised.
Mhm.
Would being on any kind of drugs cause that supervision, or were they afraid of a flight risk, or could it have been where CPS was involved with Lily and Jack?
I think it could be a number of things. So we know that they were already involved. Then when Jack and Lily have gone missing, if there is information shared between the police and CPS where they say, we think that a criminal offence has been committed here by either Malaya or Daniel or both together, then in relation to the disappearance, then that would be enough for them to say, we need to protect Meadow. We've got to have somebody who's not one of those two individuals, not one of the parents supervising. And they always look at, is there someone in the family who can help with this before they think about taking the child away? Because every child deserves, if they can, to stay with their parents. That's the basic premise of child protection services. But it could be the original involvement. So we don't know exactly what that is. We know it said home conditions on the thing that the minister put out, but there could be more to it than that, because they normally, so I know that we do it, will say the top item, but there could be other things that are going on in the background that they're looking at as well. So it could be drugs and alcohol. It could, we know that Daniel's had an issue before, so it could be a recurrence of that. We don't know whether there's been any substance misuse by Malaya, and I'm not suggesting that there definitely has been. I'm just saying we don't know. So that could be it. It could be in relation to not just the home conditions, but say, for example, this is a common occurrence where they're keeping both children off school if one's a bit poorly or, you know, something's happening and that's a good excuse. Well, Lily's got a cough, so they're both staying off. And then you're not promoting the child's education. So it could be any of those things. But I think because it's happened straight after Jack and Lily have gone missing, it's more likely to be related to that. Would be my guess. But they will use the evidence that they've collected before as well to back it up. So they'll say, this is what's currently happening, but look at what's happened before. And this is more evidence to say that there is a risk here to the child, because that's what we're always looking at, is what's the risk to the child in the future. And then in terms of, we're all kind of thinking, if what Darren said is right, Malaya has made a huge mistake here by carrying on with this story. So I think everybody was of a similar view about that. But what has she done wrong is the next big question, isn't it? So we know that she's going to be in some kind of trouble. Why? And there are a few things. So the biggest, most problematic one will be if she's made any statements under oath to the RCMP, because that is classed as perjury, which is an indictable offence, and it's up to 14 years in prison. Obstructing justice or perverting or defeating the course of justice. So you're sending the police on a wild goose chase, that would fall into that category. 10 years in prison. We're not talking little offences. We're talking quite big, important ones. And every day that it carries on, that sentence, whatever they think is proportionate in the circumstances, will go up and up and up. But if she'd have not done it for a day, she's not going to get 14 years for it. But we're 7 weeks down the line. And I know that she's represented by a lawyer, and this baffles me, because if you're represented by a lawyer and you know that every day that sentence is going to increase, she will have been advised, I would suspect, can't say for definite, but certainly if she was my client, come clean as quickly as possible. So as soon as she contacted me, I'd be saying, right, okay, we need to do damage limitation. Let's put together a really clear statement about what happened and why, and let's go to the police and explain, because that's going to reduce your culpability and reduce the severity of the punishment.
Okay. Daniel told me on Monday, when I had introduced myself to him, that
Yeah.
he believed Malaya had a lawyer lined up when she left on Saturday. And they've had this long for her lawyer to put out any kind of a statement, but the lawyer hasn't stated the word either.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by not putting out a public statement necessarily, but behind the scenes, I'm gobsmacked that she's not been advised to go and come clean if that is what's happened. And that's what, lends me to doubt a little bit whether that is what's going on, because it just doesn't really make a huge amount of sense. But there's lots of other things as well. So, we've got things like reporting an offence that has been committed when it hasn't. So she's talking about abduction and it's not been committed. That's a 5-year offence. Now, when they're looking at these, they're not going to give her sentences for each and everything on top of each other. They'll probably all run at the same time, if that happens, with a bit of an increase on whatever the highest one is. And it's a way to make sure that the sentence is proportionate when you look at everything that happened in the round in that instance. The time that you tend to get consecutive sentences that run one after the other, it's because they come out of different circumstances. So say, for example, something happens at the beginning relating to Jack and Lily being put in a car, and she makes the initial report to the police. If later down the line something else happens that's slightly different and it relates to different issues, then that will probably go one after the other. But if they're about the same thing, the same set of circumstances, they tend to run at the same time.
I'd like to point out too that, guys, tomorrow is 8 weeks. It's 8 weeks tomorrow. So for this to continually go on like this, no comment. If I had a lawyer, that's what they'd be telling. No comment, because this is outrageous.
Yeah. So for public consumption, you would advise no comment. For police interviews, particularly where you know that either the police haven't given you all the evidence that they've got, so you can't advise properly, or you know that the evidence is so strong that your only opportunity really is to test their evidence and pick holes in it later down the line, then you'd say, no comment in all the interviews. But where you know that somebody's done something like this and every day you're ramping up more punishment, then that's a slightly different issue. And you'd be saying, right, we need to find some way of limiting the damage. But I can't believe it's 8 weeks tomorrow. Belynda, I feel for you so much with what you're going through. I cannot even begin to imagine what it feels like. So would you like me to talk about the potential offences that might have been committed if something has happened? Or
Yeah.
do we avoid that tonight?
No, Belinda, do you want her to
Yes, continue, please.
continue, please?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So offences against the person, so violence offences generally speaking, there are a few different things. So when we look at what might have been happening, and I know that there's been reference to potentially, you know, Daniel hitting the children or, you know, things that may have happened in the home. You'd be looking there at, first of all, the potential that they've committed criminal negligence because they were, you know, sleeping in. They know that these children who are potentially autistic are up and about, but they're still dozing. And for that, you need to do anything or omit to do anything that you've got a duty to do. Now, you've got a duty to protect your children and supervise them properly. And then you have to show either a wanton or reckless disregard for their safety. I think that would depend on why the door was unlocked and they were able to get out, if that's what happened. What the usual routine is, and is there something on sorry, I've just totally got distracted by something that I saw in chat. Or is there something on the door that allows it to be locked usually? And then you've got offences where you cause bodily harm. That can be up to 10 years imprisonment, depending on the severity of the injury. And then you've got different types of, and I'm sorry, Belynda, different types of homicide. So you've got it, the type where you directly or indirectly cause the death of somebody, but it's not culpable. So it's more akin to an accident, I suppose, that's happened. But where there is culpability by the person who's done something that's caused it, it can be by an unlawful act, by a criminal negligence that we talked about before, where you do something or don't do something that you've got a duty to do, or you cause the person by threats or fear of violence or deception to do something that causes death of another person or themselves, or in fact just willfully frightening a child and then passing away as a result of that fright. That is in fact culpable homicide, which surprised me. We don't have that in England. Now, there are different levels of culpability. So you've got first degree murder where it's planned and deliberate. You've got where it happens as the result of either a kidnapping that's gone wrong, criminal harassment, that type of thing. But it's something that is a deliberate act. And then you've got anything else falls under. There are a few other things in there that wouldn't apply here. So you've got contracted murder, police officers that get murdered, hijacking, criminal, organised criminal gangs, and intimidation, and during an intimidation. and then everything else is second-degree murder, or manslaughter, which is where, for example, it happens in the heat of passion, or it's caused by provocation. That's not going to be anything that's possible here, because the children, they can't provoke you into doing something that's that violent. But then when they're looking at the level of sentence to give, and these can range anywhere from 14 years to life, they'll look at the aggravating factors, and the biggest aggravating factor here, these are children, and they are very young children. So they are vulnerable just by the nature of the fact that they are so young. And the people in question would be people that have got custody and control of them. So they're the types of things that could have been committed. Is there anything, Belynda, that you particularly want to know about?
I can't think of anything right off the top of my head. I don't worry so much about what could happen to Daniel or Malaya if they're found guilty of anything. That my brain hasn't even processed that far ahead yet. I just keep looking at Malaya as the Malaya that I knew. And I just can't see her hurting Lilly and Jack. They were her babies.
So that obviously it's a good piece of information to know, because one of the things that the research says is past behaviour is the best predictor of future behaviour. So if she's always been very loving towards these two children, and you've always got to look at each child individually, because we know that in some families, one child will be treated very differently to everybody else. So, but if in the past she's been always very loving to these children, that makes it less likely that potentially it's her that's done something violent. Now, negligence is a different thing, because, you know, if you are, there's been mooted the idea of depression, there's been mooted the idea that there's substances involved. All of these things, they can impact on your ability to care for a child. So that could impact on it, but it's certainly a really good indicator of what might be correct. I think someone's just asking, Belynda, can you speak at all to Janie's character? Do you know her personally?
I do not know Janie personally. The first time I seen her was Saturday. I was never officially introduced to her. From what I've seen of her, she's a very capable woman, that she speaks her mind. She had no problem telling the policewoman that they weren't going in her trailer right at that time. And after the policewoman left, she told Malaya, she said, when they come back and they go in, you make sure you hold on my dog. You hold my dog. And Malaya told her not to worry. But
That
she
does
seems,
concern me a little bit about why did she not want them to go in?
it did concern me that day. I did wonder, my sister and I talked about it, like, what's the big deal? Get somebody to take the dog, because he had a couple of little sheds there that were empty besides the chicken coop. So The dog could have stood in there with somebody.
Yeah.
So I was a little concerned about that. That I do know the dog barked the whole time we were there. The dog just barked continuously. So I could tell the dog was a big dog. I couldn't quite see its face, but my sister and my daughter were close enough to the trailer and they stated that it was a big dog.
So it could have been just that she was worried about the dog and the reaction to the police going in.
That's the way I took it. That is the way I took it. I'm an animal lover, so I know if
Yeah.
I would be worried about my dog too if I was her. So
Yeah,
that is
and we
the way
know
I
that
took it.
it doesn't end well for the dog if they do
Right. Right.
go for somebody who's come into the premises. So yeah, that could be the reason behind that.
I mean, like I said, there's only a couple things that could have happened here, really. But anyways, in the situation that we're looking at, with again, that Malaya, if this has anything at all to do with Malaya, of course, the situation that's happening where we understand that if she would have just, if it did, right, hypothetically, allegedly, she would have done this at any point. She could have done many different things, different ways, but on the scale of going up to 8 weeks, pretty much now, and to think these children are hidden somewhere, what would you kind of almost give that percentage to this theory, if you want to call it that? Like, you understand my question, I guess, that I'm asking?
I don't know whether I'd be able to give it a percentage. I think
Like, there's the likelihood.
To me, it doesn't seem to be the likely option, simply because of the fact that it's been such a long period and we know she's got representation. So if she was just hiding out somewhere on her own, getting herself into more and more of a panic, you can think, well, potentially you'd let it carry on and think, pray to God they don't realise. But for somebody who has legal representation, that makes me think I'm not really behind the idea. But it's not something that I can rule out in any way, shape or form. I think, there is a fair chance that it might be the case. If it is, I think Malaya is making a bigger rod for her own back the longer it goes on.
Do you yourself feel in your heart of hearts that this case is going to get solved? As you feel right now?
Yeah, I really hope it does, but it is worrying me in the number of weeks that are going by. That being said, we know that the Major Crimes Unit got involved really early. And we also know that silence does not mean no work is going on. Because the RCMP are very like the English police and they just don't tell you anything. They will not say anything in the press. And there's a reason for that. They don't want to say something that might tip off the person they're investigating about what they might have. They tend to keep the cards very close to the chest. Even when they're interviewing somebody, they will keep back information. So they've got a duty to provide some disclosure to the person's legal representative so that they can properly advise the person, but they get to choose what that means.
Belynda, is there anything that you wanted to add in at any point yet?
No, not at this time. That so far all that information sounds pretty accurate.
Okay.
I did have one question.
Sure.
Where Cindy was supposed to be the overseer of Malaya, and Malaya was able to take off with Meadow. Will that child be placed into foster care now, or would the family, say Daniel's side, would still be able to look after Meadow?
I think it depends. So where possible, they're going to look at family placements, but it depends on what information they've got from the police about who's interviewed well, who's potentially involved in terms of, you know, giving alibis that aren't correct or backing people up about things. So it very much does depend on what evidence they've got on about who. So they will only place with a relative that they know is far enough removed from the situation that they're safe. And unfortunately, the fact that it's happened once that they've put her in a family placement and it's not worked, that doesn't bode well for them deciding to put her in another family placement.
Thank you.
But yeah, I think it does depend on who is available. I'm just looking to see what else. I know that Logan has asked if she can have custody. I think there may be a risk there because she was quite closely involved straight after they went missing. She was involved in the argument, so that might impact. But that being said, I don't know her circumstances and I don't know what information they have about her. So, you know, that could be possible. Someone's asking, do I think it's more likely, the story, if it's Daniel's family that are hiding the children? I think if it was Daniel's family that were hiding the children, Malaya and her side of the family would be jumping up and down, screaming blue murder. I know that if a partner of mine hid my children from me, you would not be able to shut me up.
Okay, with that being said, then, she's not jumping up and down. So does that kind of seem more like it that she knows where the children are?
I think it. So if they are alive and they've been moved and hidden by somebody, I think it's more likely to be Malaya's side.
But she's not speaking. She's not speaking out at all.
No.
That
Well,
first day, she had asked. Oh, sorry.
Go on. Sorry.
That first day when I mentioned about they hadn't found anything and she said no, I said, well, how come an Amber Alert hasn't been put out? And she stated, well, that's what I'm going to ask for because they should have found something by now. But after Saturday, she never spoke to anybody anymore other than the odd text with me.
That could be just because she's been told not to by a lawyer, essentially. But there's just, I don't know what it is, but there's something not right about those actions. I think I've just seen Darren say the CPS hearing was today. So I wonder, Darren, can you disclose what happened? Obviously, we don't need to know who got custody and where she went, but was she placed in the family or outside of the family? Because that's the big question that everyone's got.
And I think, like, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Like, from my information that I got from a person, that it wasn't actually Logan who was going for custody or temporary placement. It was Logan's parents. And so that might bode well for Daniel's side of the family. Just because if Just in general, like if Malaya was given a supervision order, then you would think Daniel would be the same thing, except he wasn't given supervised visits until recently. So you know what I mean. But Logan's
Yeah,
parents might have a better chance.
yeah. I think in terms of Daniel, the issue is we don't know what information the police have got in terms of what might have happened. We know that there's potentially been accusations of domestic abuse, so that would potentially be why he didn't immediately get visits with the children, because they needed to do a risk assessment about the potential risk that he posed.
But would
And
a
that can
risk,
take,
sorry, Bev, would a risk assessment from CPS take 6 weeks? Like five? No, it was over 6 weeks. It
no,
was just last week. No.
yeah, not usually. They're normally within about 2 weeks they can do them. So that's unusual. So it may be that there was something they needed to delve into more, and that's why it's taken some time. But I think in terms of Logan's parents, they're slightly more removed potentially, so they may stand a better chance. Someone's put in the chat, I think, that the police are tricking Daniel as we speak, and he's taking the bait. And that could be true very easily. You know, I think somebody put, keep your enemies closer, and the police know that they need to do that, and that's certainly true. But we're not going to find that out until after they've come to their conclusions about what happened.
Just to everyone in chat, okay? As long as you keep your comments respectful, you can have your difference of opinions. But if you disrespect Belynda in any way, shape, or form, you are going to get the boot out of here. Okay, this is a grieving grandmother. She already talked about Cody. So all she's going to say about that is what she said at the start of this live, guys. Okay, so she already said it. So if you haven't listened to that, you can go back and listen to what Belynda talked about with Cody. Other than that, we won't put up with any insults. You can think what you want, but no insults or you get booted. The mods will just boot you, okay? So this is about Jack and Lilly first and foremost, okay? It's not about Belynda in a sense that way. It's not about Cody. It's not about Daniel. It's not about Malaya. For that part, regardless, yes, we can talk about that later and stuff like that. But this is about Jack and Lilly first and foremost, and that's why we're here. So whatever happens, of course, with them, if they had any involvement or not, either way, they'll get taken care of if they did, right? The other thing I want to say, thank you guys for being here, and thanks for everyone's likes and shares. And if you guys could please, just if you haven't done that, please do it for Belynda. Please do it for the grandmother of Jack and Lilly that has provided you guys, you know what, regardless, Daniel, Belynda, Darren, Logan, perhaps maybe one day Janie will speak out for herself, right? You know, maybe she will, maybe she won't. But anyways, again, if this information wasn't given to you guys would have absolutely nothing besides RCMP updates, right? So please be respectful regardless, because if it wasn't for these insights, we wouldn't have the insight. And after this part of the conversation, we will get back to the day that Belynda arrived there she's been there 3 times, but the third, we'll get back into that stuff soon enough. And so Bev, again, did you have anything more with regards, or did you want to take a couple questions, or does Belynda or Charmaine have anything they want to add to this right now?
I'm happy to take questions or hand over to anybody else. I keep talking.
So whatever went down today at the custody hearing, what would that custody hearing be referred to as? I don't think it's an actual custody hearing. There's another name for it, because it would be more like an interim order, right? It's not a permanent placement.
So it'll be a care and custody hearing, but it's in relation to the state having care and custody, not about the parents per se. So Darren has put in the chat that the judge ordered a gag order, so he can't say what happened. That, I think, is quite common. For family proceedings, they like to keep things closed if they can, to protect the children that are involved. But yeah, so the options that they would have, it's not going to be at a final hearing stage by now. Absolutely not. It can take months and months. So it would be an interim hearing looking at where it's most appropriate to put Meadow at the moment. Obviously, if Jack and Lily are found, then they'll have another hearing to look at what should happen with them.
I was just going to say, wouldn't the outcome of this investigation weigh heavily on their decision in Meadows' custody down the road? Unless it goes for a long time kind of being unsolved.
Yeah, so normally they run, the two things run side by side. So you'll have the criminal proceedings and the custody proceedings, and they kind of run in parallel. And the idea is that they feed into each other. So in theory, the final hearings are a similar time, but criminal cases can take absolutely an age. And I've not seen anywhere that there is a time limit in terms of how quickly they like to deal with cases in Canada. But in the UK, we've got a 26-week limit. So it's 6 months and they should be at a final hearing. And the reason for that is they don't want children to be waiting for a decision about their future for any longer than they need to, because that entire period of time when they're waiting and they don't know what's happening is really traumatic.
Can I quickly ask something that I want to? So, in one of the texts that Malaya sent to Belynda, I'm sorry, but this really bugs me to be honest. So, she basically says that Daniel just cares about what people are thinking about him when he should be focused on looking for my kids. I'm sorry, but that is so. I want to say use the word disgusting, but it's like the pot calling the kettle black. Like, really? You literally have the nerve to say that, Malaya? Sorry, but you said it. You said it. And Daniel is the one that's out there, regardless of what people think. Okay, because whatever the truth is, the truth is. But Daniel's been the one that's out there in the interviews. The behavior panel just critiqued him today based on his interview that he was having with the polygraph and stuff like that. But in saying that, what has Malaya done? So for her to put that, I'm just kind of curious what your thoughts are on that. Like, why isn't Daniel looking for my kids? Get off the pot.
Yeah. The same phrase came to my mind immediately when I saw it. I was like, pot kettle black, what are you saying? You've literally gone absolutely silent about what's going on. You've not demonstrated, not just that you're silent, you've not demonstrated that you're looking or doing anything to fix the problem, whatever that problem is. And you left. If those children did wander away and they were my children, looking at it just from a person point of view as opposed to a lawyer, I wouldn't leave. I don't care whether Janie said get off the property. I'd be like, I'll sleep in my car on the road. These are my children and they've gone from here. I'm not leaving. So yeah, it struck a very uncomfortable chord with me that she said it. I mean, we don't know what's going on in the background with her, but it baffled me a little bit.
A whole lot of nothing's going on. That's what it's like.
I agreed with that. Myself, like you, I wanted to sleep in my car and stay there until they were found. What I took from Malaya's statement right away, I thought, well, that's just weird because she's not saying anything. Her lawyer's not saying anything. And then I rethought what she said. And yes, Daniel is the one out there. He's the one that's posting everywhere. But when I start to look at all his posts and what he's saying, I don't find he mentions the children very much. It's always just what he is doing, not asking anybody if they have the kids, not asking anybody to return the kids. That's only mentioned a couple of times, I found, and I thought it was kind of prompted by the reporters interviewing him.
Absolutely. I think both of them in their interviews, I know Malaya's only done one, but and everybody said it at the beginning, there's huge, huge red flags. I'm happy to, at some point, if people want me to, go through, once I've finished going through Daniel's, go through all the red flags that came out to me in the interviews. But I think the biggest one is literally, like Belynda, you've said, they didn't speak to the children. They didn't ask for anybody to return the children. And they didn't ask anybody for any help.
That's what's made it hard, hasn't it, Belynda? Like, do you find that, Belynda? Is that, okay, now, okay, sorry, Daniel, if you're hearing this, but he comes off as self-centered, and maybe it's his Pokemon. He does have that, his old Pokemon channel, and it's kind of like sometimes men are big kids and they don't really grow up until they're 35, really. But you do see this side of Daniel where he's just so focused on what he's done, and that was picked up on, and they called him, what is it, neurodivergent in there, and he gets that smug smirk, like. And it's like, okay, like I passed, and you guys can stop basically blaming me now, like that. That's what it, when I keep seeing that smirk, because he does smirk a few times, and then they kind of said childlike, and I went back to instantly his Pokemon channel. But the question is, to Belynda here, Belynda, we don't hear Malaya ever in that first interview talk about Jack and Lily's name, nor does she say, please, we just want help finding them. There's no sort of stress going on there. And this is the day right after. Okay. And then from Daniel, he has said, of course, because he's done more interviews, so he has said the name, but he does a lot of me, what I've done. Right. And I really wish, and Belynda, I'm sure you're going to say this as well, I really wish that Daniel would just come up and just say what you gotta say, clear it up. If you have absolutely nothing, okay, if they're trying to protect Malaya, sorry, get over that. Okay, if there's any sort of protection towards Malaya, this is about two beautiful children that are over here that are missing, and it's been 8 weeks. But I just wish, Daniel, don't sit there and go, here's some info, oop, like that. Just come and clear it up, right? A to Z, just clear it up. You don't have to, but it would be a very wise, since you're speaking anyway, it would be a very wise choice. So, Belynda, how do you feel about that? Like, they're not really mentioning Jack and Lily a lot.
I find a lot are not mentioning Jack and Lily specifically. Listening to Darren's story, and apparently this is what Daniel feels too, but yet he searched for days in the woods and went on TV to state that if he has to, he'll search for the rest of his life. And that strikes me odd if in the back of his mind he really believes, because his mom heard the kids and she almost caught her handing the kids off, that if they really believe that to be true and they gave their statements, but the police didn't want to listen, I'd be telling the reporters, I'd be telling the whole world.
Yeah, I think I agree. One thing that did worry me is when he said, and I'll search for the rest of my life. That gives the indication that that you're never going to find them. And that's worrying.
Oh, yeah, I don't think sorry, my bad. Sorry, I looked at a message. Jackson, Belynda, you can answer this one because we've talked, and Malaya actually shut her Facebook page down again, but she hasn't messaged you, right? Her or Daniel. That's correct, since our last postings, right?
Yes, I've had no contact. The last contact I had with Malaya was the morning that she took off with Meadow, and you have those texts there. And I've sent her 3 since then, and she hasn't even looked at them.
Right.
Daniel, I sent him one more after my last text with him. He did look at it. He did see my text, but he has not replied.
Right. And so I want to make sense of that. So right. So originally Belynda had sent me the morning of May 2nd, the conversation, right? And then there was those recent ones where she's saying about, why isn't Daniel, looking or trying to find her kids type of thing. So that was the last interaction. Since then, no. And the thing was, to be honest with you, I was amazed we still got that much, to be honest, and she didn't get blocked or nothing like that. But again, if Daniel's telling the truth, then he should have no problem. Like I said, he's putting stuff out there anyway. So this is the grandmother of Jack and Lilly. So Daniel, right? Respect that this is the grandmother of Jack and Lilly, and we do apologize if there was some messages, but at this point, again, it's not about you, Daniel. And it's not about Malaya. It's not about anybody at all. And just like I told Belynda yesterday, Jack and Lilly will come first. Families behind that. And this is exactly what this is about. So if you're truly doing it, Daniel, for Jack and Lilly and Malaya, you too, get your butt out in front of the camera and talk or say something. Say something, because you're looking guilty as shit, to be honest with you, on this. But Daniel, since you're the one speaking out there, and even though you're saying that you tell the truth, I tell the truth. I tell the truth. And you keep saying that. So just tell the truth. And you don't have to give some details that you're not supposed to. But the stuff that you put out there, just tell the truth, and answer Belynda. If you're willing to talk to YouTubers and stuff like that, and, in messages and talk to all these other people, this is the grandmother that you should be talking to the most. So if you're telling the truth and you got nothing to hide, then you should be answering her regardless. And honestly, if the information comes out to the public, so be it, because you're telling the truth. You're not going to hinder this investigation. Besides morons sending in useless tips and bogging down this whole investigation, use common sense there, people. They don't want to hear really about some psychic. Sorry. Belynda, do you find Malaya's text about Daniel not looking after children in her character? Okay.
No, I don't. I don't know what happened in the past almost 2 years, because I've had basically no contact other than what I've seen posted that she would post out. As for before Daniel, she was a doting mother. Do I think she might have spoiled her kids a little? Yes, I do. But she was a great mom. I couldn't have been happier to have her as a mom for my grandkids.
That's the part, Belynda, that's the part right there that I hold on hope to for this part about having the children hidden, is because a mother's love, this, Belynda, there's nothing like a mother's love. I'm sorry, you guys, but they come out of our chute, not yours, but they're nothing but a mother's love, right? So I would do anything to protect my child. If I felt like they were in harm or danger, I would do anything for my child. And I know that you probably would too, for your children and grandchildren and stuff like that. So that's where, to me, this is plausible that maybe she did something where it just morphed into this crazy, other part where they're hidden and stuff like that. That's the part that gives me the hope, is a mother's love that she would do for her children if she feels like she's doing the right thing. What do you think about that?
When she left my son and she said how unhappy she she didn't want her kids growing up in that unhappiness. She had no problem leaving my son. If she felt that way, why would it have been a problem for her leaving Daniel? I don't understand that.
Right. Dad, have any thoughts? Anybody any thoughts to that? No?
I'm not sure, honestly. I've just seen something in chat though, Sonny, that was interesting. So someone said that if there's a gag order, maybe Daniel isn't allowed to talk. So the gag order will be about Meadows' custody.
Yeah.
It won't be about the rest of it. And in fact, the police probably quite like him talking. And anybody who does talking, because it gives them information that they can use one way or the other to kind of sift out leads from it and things. But even if he had been told not to speak, he is doing just by comments, not verbally. So that would be breaking any order. So I don't think there would be anything to stop him coming on and giving his view.
He would have a gag order only relating to Meadow.
Yeah. It would literally just be about that one section. It would only be about Meadows' custody. The family court wouldn't be able to put any order in relation to the investigation and what happened to Jack and Lily at this point.
Okay, so Annette says, hi, Annette. Can you ask Belynda why she doesn't think the story of the kids being alive is believable? Darren's story, basically.
I cannot see her going through all these lengths to get her kids out of there when she could have left. I know her mom would have picked her up. She had her own vehicle. She could have left any time. I just can't see that. It doesn't make sense to me.
Especially since she had no problem leaving your son, you just said.
Right.
Yeah.
That I just can't see why, not these great lengths. And not to let it go on past that. I can't wrap my head around that.
And I get that. Right. Here's one Malaya, and then this is a totally different person that you can't comprehend anymore. Like whatever happened to this other Malaya. Crazy, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. And I get that, right? But you know, okay, can I just ask, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but for all four of us on the panel, do you guys each believe that this is family involvement versus in the woods versus a stranger abduction? And if it's different, Charmaine?
No, I do. Absolutely. There's
Believe it's
absolutely no
family
other.
involvement?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's family. In some way.
Yeah.
Which direction, I'm not sure yet. But
right.
I think it is family involvement.
Well, that is exactly where I stand. And I come across that, to be honest, the day Malaya left is when it hit me that I did not feel these kids were ever going to come back.
I mean, how could somebody not feel it through your interview? You know, when you said, I just know, right, that something has happened to these kids. And there's no way that they went in those woods.
There's not.
Give her a second, guys.
Sorry.
Give her a second. Mm-hmm. This is, of course, you know, she's been so strong, you know, throughout this whole thing. But these are her 2 grandbabies. Okay.
I don't think I have seen
Sorry, Belynda.
many shows of such strength. Think that you're doing an amazing thing for your grandbabies. It's just, I cannot imagine.
The truth is out there. The truth is right out there. Family know it. My opinion. Family know exactly what happened.
It broke my heart when her and Cody didn't work. They were my picture perfect family. It broke my heart. And Malaya made me feel it was okay. She'd come every couple of weeks with the kids. And then it slowly dwindled after she met Daniel. So yes, she was changing. I can't deny that. There was some changes. So now I'm back again, not knowing who's responsible other than I know somebody was.
I think someone's asked in the chat, have any mothers in here experienced postpartum depression? Would that cause a flip in personality? And the answer is very simply, yes, it can. And it can cause a huge shift in personality. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you won't have postpartum with child number 3 if you didn't have it with child number 1 and 2.
I understand postpartum depression. I went through it when I had my daughter. And it lasted a little over a year and a half. And then I lost my husband. And it was losing my husband that snapped me out of the postpartum depression. Do I think Malaya could have? It would definitely explain a lot about her behavior on what Daniel was telling me. I still just can't see that she would hurt her kids.
I can't see that she would hurt her kids either, to be honest with you. Not the way that you've talked. Like, I know I don't know what postpartum feels like to go through that. I know what depression feels like. I don't know what postpartum depression feels like. You know what? If you could, Belynda, because I honestly don't know, and maybe other people love, especially men, they would not know. What is postpartum depression when you went through it? What was it like? Is it like a deeper depression?
It's a real strong sense of worthlessness that you have this baby and you have in the back of your mind that you're going to have this real close bond. And your baby cries and you try everything and your baby still cries. So then you start to feel that there's something wrong with you. You're not a good mom. Then you start to pull yourself away and you don't feel that closeness. I used to hear moms tell me, oh, you'll know your babies cry when it's hungry and when it's this and when it's that. And I did not feel that. And I couldn't make myself feel that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my daughter says it's like you're disconnected from your baby. And when it's like she had 2 kids already and she never experienced anything like that. And then with the last baby, she had postpartum and she said it was completely different. And a lot of her struggle was trying to understand why this baby, like what happened to her, like why was she so weak? That's what she was thinking, that she doesn't have this connection to Layla, where the other 2, it didn't happen with the other 2. So it really confused her. And that just added to what was already going on, right?
Yeah. I think that's a common description that I've heard. I haven't experienced it, but I have dealt with a lot of families who have been impacted by it. That's one very clear indicator. It's that disconnection. The other thing, unfortunately, that can happen, which is a very different thing, is postpartum psychosis. So you could be in the grips of postpartum depression, and then you suffer a psychosis, which means that you are believing something that isn't real. So that could be anything from these babies would be better off in a different place, with a different family, right the way through to not in this world anymore, and for many different reasons, unfortunately. But then there has been no reference by anybody to the fact that that's potentially happened, and she didn't really come across as in a state of psychosis. It was more a really flat affect, which could be that disconnect that she's feeling. It's certainly something that could be playing a part in it.
Well, she did say to Belinda, like in those messages, she's like, I didn't want to be there, you know. So, like I said, so I honestly, like I only knew about postpartum depression that like some mothers can have this detachment from their child, you know. But of course, I've only had one son, and I never went through postpartum at all, type of thing. And you know, I want to ask you, Belinda, on this one though. You said you pulled yourself out of it when your husband passed. Was it kind of like how did tell me about that for a second, if you don't mind?
I never had to connect with my daughter. My mother sensed it, so she would take my daughter for the weekends a lot. And my mother brought me up that you're not supposed to spoil your kids. Don't rock your kids to sleep. It was let your children cry. Crying's good for them. That was her words. So I felt very insecure when I couldn't get my daughter to settle. Then when my husband died, it was just me and my daughter. It didn't happen overnight. It took a couple of months because I was almost willing to trade anything to have my husband back.
Yeah.
And then when it kicked in that it is just me and my daughter, well, I found the comfort in her. I seen her father in her.
Yeah. Okay.
And just like that, then everything started falling into place. And I realized I wasn't the bad mom. And then later on, talking to family members, and they'd say, well, she might have told you not to rock her, but when she had her on the weekend, she rocked her to sleep every night. So
All right.
the only thing I don't understand is the postpartum. Wouldn't that make her pull away from Meadow, though? Why would it make her pull away from her other kids?
Right. I was wondering about that as well.
And then seeing Daniel's posts about how she never looked after the other kids. He did everything. So I'm assuming he let her know how worthless she was as a mom to the kids. And maybe that was the cause of her wanting to leave the relationship, because she just wasn't feeling worthwhile with him.
Yeah, I mean, that could be the case. In terms of the children, you would expect the disconnect to be with Meadow more than with the older children. But I suppose it could come in the form of this new baby is the couple's baby, and the other children are not, sorry about that bang, not from the couple who are currently together, and that kind of means that they end up getting pushed out a little bit. But I think Daniel was trying to kind of demonstrate that he's a really good stepdad, because he knew that he would be in the limelight.
And that's what leads me to believe that Lilly and Jack, I think, were the biggest contention between the two of them, and what's caused most of their fighting.
Quite possibly. It's really difficult to kind of get a bird's eye view into a family relationship when nobody who's speaking are the people who have actually been in the home with them during the period just before all this happened. It's really difficult because it's all kind of speculation at the moment, isn't it, about what may or may not have contributed. It is quite hard. Sonny, in a minute, I'm going to have to disappear, I think. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, my bad. I was mute myself when you guys were talking there. But so I was just gonna say, as for you, Bev, thank you so much for being here on that. And you guys, it's not like at some point that Bev can't come on again and answer some more of those questions that you have for her on there, because I know that people were asking a lot. But her time, it's like 12:30 at night over there in the UK, where she's from. So for you, Bev, unless Belynda or Charmaine have something else that they need to ask before she does leave, other than that, again, we've been putting up your YouTube channel, and it's Crime Courtroom Confidential, and we'll keep posting that throughout the live. It is also in the description as well, guys, for her channel. So please go help support her. Last time I looked, she was at 156 subscribers, and she's just, more newer into this whole YouTube thing somewhat. So if you guys can go support Bev, she's a great lady. Thank you. I really, truly appreciate everything. And Belynda and Charmaine, if you guys want to say anything before Bev heads off here.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you, Bev. It's always great to hear from you.
You're more than welcome. What I'll do is tomorrow, when it's daytime for me, I'll go through the chat and just see what the questions were and see if next time I come on I can answer some of those. That's probably the best way to do it.
Yes, I'd really appreciate that.
Yeah, that's no problem at all.
So Bev, thank you so much. And on a side note, Bev, again, what we were talking about earlier before the live. So I just want to say, bless, okay, and biggest hugs ever. So air hug. It's gonna have to be an air hug. Air hug to you, okay?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
And I'll see you all again soon.
Thank you so much, Bev. Okay. Night. So if you guys don't mind, so Belynda, can we go back now to the day, if you don't mind? Are you okay? Just want to make sure. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. So again, Daniel has his thing. Malaya had her thing on the interview, but can we go back to May 3rd on this? And there's 1,000 people in here. So can you just, and I won't interrupt, nobody interrupts. Can you just kind of, as your memory recollects, because you were there 3 times, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so can you by chance just take us through each of those days as best as you can? It doesn't have to be every single detail, but just from your perception of like what you saw. And don't forget to include the dog not barking and then barking. That Daniel said, sorry, Daniel, but calling you out there, dude. You told Belynda that the dog didn't bark, but we'll come to that point. But so you arrived there.
Yes.
Okay.
I arrived there. There was no police cars on the road. The one dirt road just before you get to their place, I can't remember the name of the road. It's a dirt road. That's where all the police were stationed and the search and rescue. That road was blocked off. Right away when we pulled up, I had recognized the trailer because we had made many trips to New Glasgow, and I've often seen the trailer. I didn't have a clue that's where Malaya lived. And I feel so bad now because we could have stopped in so many times. But my sister and I get out and we start walking to the trailer, and that's where I seen Janie sitting down, and I wish I could remember, but I can't, who the woman was sitting beside her, and there was a policewoman standing up, and they were talking. Pardon?
Was it the psychic, Belynda?
No, I think the psychic was Cindy,
No,
but
but
it was probably your sister,
she
Miriam.
called Janie Mum.
By the way, there's no echo anymore.
Oh, she called.
Now.
Okay, she called Janie Mum because she said, "Mum, it's okay. They're not blaming you. They're not stating that you did anything wrong. It's okay. They just want to look in the trailer so they can rule it out. They just need to check the trailer." And she was going on saying no, she didn't want them to look at something. I can't remember what it was. It was a cupboard or something. And she said about her dog, that she didn't want her dog getting hurt. And the policewoman was telling her that she was impeding an investigation and that she would have to get a search warrant because they have to search the trailer. And the policewoman left. And then my sister and I headed towards the trailer. We got in the trailer. Right away, I went over and hugged Malaya. Of course, I started to break down. I guess once you reach 60, everything makes you cry now. But I hugged her, and right away, she thanked me for coming. And I noticed that her grandmother, Patty, was there. She was sitting on the couch. And I asked Malaya if she'd heard anything yet. Did they find anything yet? And she said no. I said, who are the ones outside? And she told me that was Janie, Daniel's mom, and that was Justin, Daniel's brother. But I know she said who the other one was. And like I said, for some reason, it's just gone. So I asked her, I said, what was the last time you seen the kids? Did you see them at all? And she said, no, the last time she saw them was when she put them to bed Thursday night. I said, what time did they get up? She said, between 8 and 8:30. She said, I heard them playing in the other room. She goes, and I kind of drifted off to sleep. She goes, but they must have got out of the door. And I said, that's the door right there. And she said, yes. And she opened and closed the door. It is a fairly quiet door. It's not a loud door, but I mean, it's a patio door. So unless you're kind of listening, you really don't hear patio doors open and close. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people are going on about it, but you don't overly, unless your ears are tuned for it to know the door is opened up. As a parent, they should have been tuned in.
Mm-hmm.
So then I asked her what the kids were wearing, and she told me what they were wearing. And then I said, we're going to go search. I said, where do you think the kids went? And she said, I don't know. She said, I don't know what to do. I said, well, you're their mom. You know them more than anybody. When you have them outside playing, where do you think they would go that they were curious and wanted to explore?
Sonny, I'm backstage.
Nope, you're
And
right here. Sorry, Belynda.
oh,
Hi,
that's okay.
Kent, you're not backstage, Kent. You're right up on
Oh,
the panel.
sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. Sorry, Belynda.
Oh no, that's fine. That she said they spent a lot of time playing up into the woods. So I told her, I said, that's where we'll start our search. We'll start it there and work our way up. So we went back out and we spoke to one of the searchers because we just wanted to know where we were allowed to go. They told us that we could search on their side of the property, but we couldn't search across the road because that's where all the searchers were. She said we would rather not have anybody searching. And I understood that, but she said you can search the places that we've already gone through. So I told her, okay, we would do that. So we went up through the woods. You could see where the kids played. You could tell that the kids really enjoyed the yard. Their toys were everywhere. The dog barked from the time we entered the property. It just became background noise. It never stopped barking. We went up through the woods. We made it to a field in the back, and we combed the woods beyond that. And then we seen all these wood roads going, these old pathways going. So we were up there for about an hour and we headed back down. And I went back into the trailer, and Malaya had Meadow cradled on her hip, and there was a couple of groups of people, but I wasn't paying any attention to the people at that point. So I don't know who they were. And she was going to different groups, talking with people. So I went up and I told her, I said, look, I said, we searched up here. I said, now there's a field back there. I said, do you ever take the kids back there? Do they know that area? And she said, yes, that she's had them back there. I said, okay. I said, so we're going to go up the road and we're going to cut across the property and come back in to where that field is. So we left again, and that's what we did. We went up past their place, and there's another road that goes in past where the train tracks are. We went up and through there, and we cut across. We come across a couple of brooks, but right away it was hitting me that there's just no way these kids would be in these woods. It was just like a jungle. That we looked through deer paths, and a lot of those were blocked off. Rabbit trails, a lot of animals will use the same trails. We followed what trails we could, and they always came to dead ends. We walked the woods road for, oh my gosh, for about an hour and a half. We walked the woods roads, and all the time I'm calling out for them. And nothing, just nothing other than ribbons. There were ribbons everywhere throughout the woods. That's all you seen was ribbons. So we come back out, and we took a break in my sister's car. And I said, I'm going to go in and tell Malaya that we're done. So I went back in and I spoke with Malaya, spoke with Patty. Patty was telling me about selling her home. And that she was worried sick, and you could see she was worried sick. She was pretty upset. Malaya was talking to that same woman that was sitting at her table, that I don't know who she was. I come back out, and when I come back out to the car, Cindy pulled up, and Cindy had someone with her. I don't know who it was. I didn't recognize her. And I know, I can't remember his name, Cindy's husband. He was there, and they started to walk into the driveway. And then, oh gosh, was that before? No, I'm sorry. I skipped over where the chief come. The chief come before Cindy.
Now, I think Lana King said it was a chief from Millbrook, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, that's who I believed it was. Yes, that's who I believe it was. He had introduced himself and he stated where he was from, and he stated that they're the member of the band of Millbrook. So I wasn't paying attention. I said she lives there. So he thanked me very much and he went in. So I waited about another 20 minutes and then I went in again. And he was saying to Malaya that they were going to have a prayer at the table. So I figured I'd give them their privacy for that it was with the other band members that they were doing a prayer. They were all sitting around the table. So I thought that I didn't have the right to stand around. So I come back out and there was other people standing in the driveway, but that's when my sister and I decided we'd call it a day. That it was a pretty tiring day. So we left. Once we left, I guess that's when all hell broke loose. Because as we were getting ready to leave, Cindy pulls in. She goes into the driveway with the woman, and then I see her husband go in. And as we're cooling down the air conditioner in the car, then all of a sudden I seen Cindy's husband come out and he gets into a vehicle. And then that's when I said, we may as well pull out of here. So we did. That took place Saturday.
Which part? Where did Saturday start from?
It was around from 10 o'clock, maybe 10 o'clock in the morning. And I think my sister said it was around between 4 and 4:30 when we left.
And the press conference was at was it 9:30, do you recall? 9, the press conference that they had on the 3rd, or the meeting or whatever? The one where Malaya went into some ambulance or something like that? Do you recall? Were you there for any of that part of it?
No. I don't know if we were already in the woods at that point or if that took.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure when that took place because I knew nothing about it.
Yeah, because that was, it would have to be afterwards because at that point is when she discussed something with her mom for 5 minutes, according to Daniel and Logan, and left right after that. So if Malaya was still there when you got back from searching the woods,
Yes.
that
Right.
situation hadn't happened yet.
Yeah, right.
So I assume we must have missed it. And afterwards, I thought I wished I would have stayed. And I really wished I would have stayed.
I know. Hindsight, right? On that.
Sunday, I didn't go searching. That my niece and friends of hers, they're hikers, so they stated they would go for me. So they went Sunday. Then Monday, my sister and I decided, we were going to go back. So we had my nephew, and he had a 4-wheel machine because we wanted to take the trails back further towards the pipeline. And like I said, there's trails that go everywhere throughout there. So we started searching right away. And when we were done with that search, I come back out and they stayed out by the road and I started to walk in because I wanted to let Malaya know that we were searching to see if she had any more information. And that's when I had met Logan. That when I walked into the driveway and I said hi to them, and Justin was really upset. He was crying. Daniel was out talking to reporters at the end of the driveway. And Justin was really, really upset. So right away I was thinking they must have got some kind of bad news. Mm. So when I walked up close, right away, Logan said, "Who are you? And what do you want?" And I just told her, I said, don't get mosey with me. I said, I'm the grandmother on the biological father's side. And right away she apologized. She apologized profusely. And then she proceeded to tell me that Malaya left on Saturday.
So
And,
I know I'm not trying to stir the pot or anything, but just because you were there,
Mhm.
looking back, the fact that they hadn't gotten any bad news and they hadn't found anything, was Justin's reaction, looking back, do you think that that was appropriate, or?
It struck me as very, very odd. Because I said to my sister afterwards, I mean, I know they were probably somewhat close with the kids because they were there for 2 years. But I said he seemed really devastated. So it did strike me as just a little off. Because he really did look devastated. That was the other thing I wanted to say. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
When Malaya stated about who Janie was and who Justin was, she said they live in the trailer out back. She used the words they.
And
My,
yeah.
and my sister and I afterwards thought, wow, that's such a small trailer. But I mean, people live how they live. So that was the end of that thought. And it wasn't until I seen a couple of clips from the news briefing stating that Justin didn't live on the property. And I thought, well, geez, maybe we heard wrong, but I was positive she said they.
Well, maybe Darren can clear. Darren, in chat, do you think you can clear that up for Belynda? Do you know if Justin was living on the property during the kid's disappearance? Because she, like Belynda says, Malaya, she swore she said they.
She said they. And then when I heard that Justin has a place up the road, but then I heard Logan's interview being broadcasted where she was on TikTok and somebody had asked about Justin and she said, well, no, he's got his own problems right now, that he's in the middle of a divorce. And then right away, bells went off in my head and it's like, well, he's in the middle of a divorce. Well, then maybe Malaya was right. He was staying with Janie at that particular time. But I still don't know. Everybody is saying that no, he didn't stay there, but I know she said they. And if he's in the middle of a divorce, my mind states, well, him and his wife probably aren't staying in the same house together.
Exactly, right? Because Logan said that on her thing that he was
Yes.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I can understand that. So maybe Darren can clear that out for us. I'll keep an eye on chat.
Maybe, but I know Darren, when he first spoke to you, I know he stated that he didn't even know that Janie lived there in the trailer.
Oh, Kent's talking. Kent wants to talk. Hey, Kent. Sunny,
Hello.
unmute me. Go ahead.
Belynda, the main reason why I come on here is I'd like to express my sincere, heartfelt for the situation that you're going through. And I know that it takes every bit of strength that you have. And we all just got to have faith that we will be able to get Jack and Lily back home. So I hope it gives you a little bit of faith that maybe there is a miracle out there. Miracles do happen for the strangest reasons.
Thank you.
So that, and there was one thing in the chat, but I can't remember. I lost my thought on the one in the chat. But is
it about the
there?
water? Was it about the water?
No, I know what it is now. Yeah, from knowing Malaya, and I know we all can't explain the extenuating circumstances, but do you get the feeling that she wasn't acting as a normal, like everybody says, oh, well, if these were my kids, I'd be out there pleading for their safe return or for them to be found if they were lost in the woods.
She
Like,
was totally
do,
off. Malaya was totally off. At first I thought it was shock. But when I come home Saturday night and I kept thinking about her behavior because it was very odd to me. And then it dawned on me she couldn't be in shock because this is a crisis that just happened the day before. So this is still a panic mode. I know because I remember when my daughter went missing once. That
so were you
she could,
shocked? Were you shocked on Sunday when you went back and found out, for whatever reason, that she
oh,
left the property?
a part of me inside, I'm sorry, but a part of me inside died knowing she left with those babies gone. I don't know how she could do that, to be honest. I love the Malaya that I knew, but I don't know how any mother can leave the place where her babies were. I'm only the grandmother, and I didn't want to leave at all. I wanted to stay there the whole time and sleep in a car.
Yeah,
So no,
that's
I
what
don't get that.
baffles me.
I don't get that at all. I don't get that at all. So I figured if she left, something tells me she had to have had a very, very good reason to leave. Is it because she knows her babies are alive? I really, really hope so. But this other part of me tells me no.
But it also could be that she knows that I hate to say it too, but it could be the other reason is that she knows that something happened to them and she just couldn't stay there.
Oh, it absolutely can be that too. I haven't crossed that one out either.
She
Both of
or
those
the chief or her
scenarios.
mom gave her a heads up that CPS is going to be here soon. So if you want to keep Met out, we better get out of here. Type thing.
Um, for what part though?
Just
Before or
because kids are missing, right? So
right?
like who knows if
No, I can't see. Kids are missing and calling into 911. I don't believe CPS would have been contacted right away. I only think, to be honest, I think CPS was probably contacted through the RCMP. I think they were the ones who called
yeah,
CPS after the fact.
I did too, just because of the state of the property. And
Yes,
who knows what
well,
the inside looked like.
not just the state. They had the crime unit there. What right after? Was the crime unit there on Friday?
To my
Yeah,
understanding, they were there
yeah.
almost immediately. Yeah.
Right. So to me, that tells me that while they say they're there for every missing child, um, something tells me something struck them off, and I do believe that they were the ones that contacted CPS. I do think Malaya called her mom. I think Malaya might have called her mom. If it's true that her mom arrived minutes after the police, she does live in Truro. It is a bit of a distance away. So for her to be there that quick, then Malaya had to have called her mom before she called the police. And I don't question that part because, I mean, hell, I'd probably do the same thing.
Belynda, you were down on Saturday, right? You didn't
Yes.
go near on Friday?
No.
Okay, I was just gonna ask, like, and maybe you can tell if there was, but like in the kitchen, um, would there have been cereal boxes on the cupboards so that if the kids get up by themselves, They
There
could have
was,
grabbed like a bowl of cereal,
if,
or
if
is that
no,
stuff in the away?
if if I'm to be honest, when I first seen the property, like I said, I had passed it many a time, and it always looked like a junkyard. I don't want to be mean because
Yeah,
it
because
was
I
like
own a
my brother.
junkyard, so I appreciate that.
No, you did own a junkyard. You did.
But yes, it kind of looked like a junkyard. Um, I did afterwards. I seen the little fenced-in area where the kids could play, which wasn't too bad. But I don't look down on that, to be honest. That part with people thinking it's dangerous having all this stuff around, because I remember being a kid myself, and I know when my son was a kid, those were great things to play around because they're not normal toys.
Sunny, I
Walking
hate to
into the
interrupt.
house.
Yep. You gotta get going.
My phone is about to die, so I'm gonna
Oh,
jump off and
okay.
plug it in. So
All right. Say goodbye to Belynda.
Belinda, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And Kent, talk to you in chat. See
Yeah.
y'all later.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Charmaine.
So, I have a point to make in a second. I don't want to
Okay. When I walked into the trailer, we went in through the front door where it's a little little porch there on the front. We went in through that door. And you walk right into the kitchen area. The table's right across from the door. The living room is off to the right. There's a wood stove. It's not quite in the middle of the living room floor, but it juts out in the living room floor a fair bit. Recyclables were everywhere, piled up bags everywhere. The counters were so full you couldn't pick out any one thing because it was really piled up with a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And you said that the inside was kind of like the outside, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, I have to say, before I forget my train of thought on this, because trust me, it will go. You know it can't. It will just gone. So the thing is, so if if Malaya, like for the people that are thinking this, right? But if Malaya thought that Daniel had any sort of involvement with the children and their disappearance, then that would be contradictory to her saying to you, or, in those text messages, that Daniel's too busy worrying about what other people think, he should be looking for my kids. So that would contradict that thought, really. So if Malaya thought that Daniel did something to the kids.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
That comment then goes out. That comment cannot go out the window because she said that. So if anything, that comment would be like, why aren't you looking for my kids type of thing? Why is he looking for my kids? And then it would be more towards her having something to do with the kids because, yeah. So I just wanted to make that clear for.
Oh, that is true. That is true.
Yeah. Yeah. Just because so many of us keep thinking, well, maybe she left and maybe she's being protected and she's just letting the RCMP pin it on Daniel and blah, 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 blah. When really she wouldn't have made that comment to you in a text if she actually thought that then at all. Daniel, why don't you look at my dead kids that you killed? No, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I had to get that out before I forgot it. Thank you. Whew, okay. And by the way, Belynda, I just want to say you're doing awesome. Thank you so much. I know this is hard for you. And I know, like we talked about, that you got to put yourself in a block, like, you got to block it, right? Because you're just kind of going each day with the emotions and stuff like that. And right now it's just all about, where's Jack and Lily? Let's find the answers. Let's just keep the awareness out there. Until perhaps that point comes that you have to think of it differently. We were talking about the Delphi case and how the grandmother always every day put out a post that, and she did it for herself as well. Yeah. To put out that post, today is the day. Today is the day.
Well, yeah. I mean,
today is
myself, you feel so helpless that you want to do something. So in the end, the only thing I could do is talk to you guys.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I honestly, like I said, just like what Bev was saying too, you have my heart. Honestly, I think you're an amazing strength. Like I'm not going through this. You are, and other family members, right? And to me, when someone says like that they don't know that they have the strength in that, I'm always like I've been with this one mother from another case or sorry, she was like the grandmother. She literally lost about 5 people within the course of 2 years in her life, and her name was Dottie. And Dottie lost her son Ray Hanish. And when she started telling me that the story about all the losses that she's had, and her son was murdered, and I'm like, how are you even talking to me right now? How are you even getting up in the day? But again, just like, I know I have strength when I need to have strength. And that's what I admire so much about you. I know that Jack and Lily are missing, and our heart goes out to you again with these children and praying that we get answers. But just for me, you're so, again, to me, I just admire you so much for this strength. And you guys, Belynda, again, this entire time, she knows, like when she said that she put out Daniel's text and gave text, she had nothing to lose, right? Because it's not about them per se. If they have any involvement, they'll be charged or whatever. It's about Jack and Lily and the answers. So it's kind of one of those things. What does she have to lose? She had nothing to lose, everything to gain by keeping the awareness out there, giving people more insight. If somebody happens to call in, give a tip that helps aid in this case, or the reward helps aid in this case, so be it. The bottom line is, yeah. Mm-hmm. Darren said, by the way, that Justin, no, he didn't believe so, that Justin lives in Salt Springs, that he wasn't living there at the time. Mm-hmm. Right, I know, because now it's playing in your head, because you know when you heard something, and
Well, yeah. Well, I had to ask my sister because she was right there with me. It's like, Malaya did say they. And my sister said, well, yeah, that's what I heard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I want to say something to chat, if you don't mind. Do not disrespect Belynda, not that nobody is disrespecting you. And I don't want you to disrespect Darren either. Okay? If anything, I don't care if other channels are, which I've seen, right? We saw it. But it's fine. If that's what they want to say on their channel, go ahead. But don't be little followers, be leaders, okay? Because at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're using what God gave you, which was brains, and you're taking any of the information, whether you believe it or not, it's still information coming out from the family. Do not call him a shit starter and all that stuff. Why? Because he cares about Jack and Lily and wants to find answers, even if you disagree that he, maybe think that Daniel has them wrapped around his thumb. Because I know some of you guys think that, but I'm just saying, come on now. He's doing what Belynda is doing from her heart. He's trying to do from his heart is literally sit there and try to understand what happened to Jack and Lily. The man lost his home that he's with and everything, and all for the sake of trying to bring, answers for Jack and Lily. Some people, like myself, are fighters, and we don't give a shit about what's standard or what's this or that, and don't play. I play the beat to my own drum. Again, if RCMP has a job to do, they can do their job. They can squeal at us all they want all day long. Sorry, RCMP, but you guys have your job to do. We're doing our job. And if family members want to talk out and give more insight and stuff like that to the case, and it brings somebody a tip to them, because they think that they got it underneath control and all that, right, Belynda? They got it all on. And I don't want to disrespect the RCMP. I don't. But at the end of the day, trust me, when you follow cases, you get tired of hearing that same shit. And at the end of the day, yes, are they going to be the ones to apprehend it? But also, it's information that helps to make it understand. So if somebody by somehow watching a channel, whether they're talking badly about Darren or badly about Belynda or badly whatever, don't matter. It's about any information awareness that can keep the case alive. Preach it, Sonny. Okay, I will. Thank you. I just sorry, but I get really upset with when people are disrespecting people, and it's because they start shitting on Darren on a different channel, and that's fine. Like I said, if Justin or Dolly have qualms about the whole storyline, so be it. And if people, but use your brain cells a little bit, people, and understand that he is trying to give information to you guys. Why be ungrateful about that? If you don't believe him, don't believe him. But you don't need to come in here spewing, that he's just a shit starter. Okay? Just act your age, get out of the sandbox, and just be respectful to people in this chat. I don't care if a sub goes, well, I'm out of here. Great. Then you didn't belong here in the first place. This is a channel that believes in just trying to have good, wholesome, honest chat with good, wholesome, honest people. Okay? Thank you. Preach it. Okay, bye. That's it. Go on.
Thank you.
Sorry. Go on my little rant there. Go ahead. Go ahead, Belynda.
No,
You want
no.
to back me up on that?
Yeah. No, I'm an open book, to be honest, and most times I don't understand why nobody else is. I believe everybody should be an open book.
Right?
That but I
Same.
do. It does bother me when I hear Daniel say that, well, he knows certain things, but he can't say certain things. It bothers me when I hear Darren say, well, he knows the names of certain people. He believes he knows who took them. But he doesn't want to jeopardize things. And
Trust. Yeah.
with me, it's,
I know.
I want my grandkids back.
No.
And I don't care who's got secrets, who tells them not to tell. It's like,
Why the
tell
games?
everything you know. It might open up a whole new other place to go, to put a closure to this, to give us answers.
I know. I don't like it when people hide behind a name or something. Myself, okay? I'm the same way, Belynda. Is honestly, there's so many people that are like, don't use my name, don't say this. But you know what? But we're talking about 2 children that are missing.
Right.
That's what we're not talking about, bra straps and freaking girdles or underwear and stuff like that, jock straps. We're talking about 2 children that are missing. And people want to play these mind games or this game of don't use my name. You can see this information, but don't do that. No, you know what? Grab a set of testicles, seriously. And just, if you have something to say in regards to the kid's disappearance, then just say it, own it. If you have nothing to do with it, but so many people, honestly, they're always, it's like they're in their little, nervous state going, oh, if I say this, somebody's going to attack me then, or something like this or that. You don't have to give your freaking first name or last name, but meaning if you're going to say something, say it. It's about,
I can understand some people in the beginning when I first started speaking out.
Yeah.
I had a lot of things come my way because of my son's decisions and choices. And right away, I shut my Facebook off and I made everything private. And it lasted all of maybe a day and a half. And then I thought, well, why do you care what people say? Why do you care what they think?
Right.
You want people to know these kids? You want people to talk about these kids? Well, let them look at your Facebook. Let them say what they want. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Belynda,
Yes.
I know you might not know this because you've only just met her, but there is several people trying to ask Darren in the chat, and he responded by that he doesn't know. But what they're asking is, do you know, one, if Janie drives, and 2, whether or not she has her own vehicle?
I don't know for a fact. I do not know that. I know when they went to do the search, her and Justin went on the 4-wheeler. So I really don't know if she
Ooh.
has a vehicle.
Was that
Okay.
was that little 4-wheeler clean as everyone says it was? Do you recall?
Um,
Do you remember?
I don't recall because I
Okay.
didn't pay attention to it.
No problem. It's just because of that picture, and everyone's like, "Why is this?"
I have heard that. I have heard that. But the roads, these are bare roads. The paths that are all up through the woods there,
Mm.
they're fairly bare. There's a couple of areas that were muddy and wet, but most of them are dry roads.
Little Mama, what you're asking is something that I know that if he's not allowed to talk, and I think you might be asking about Darren. Darren told me the story of when he went to the RCMP was on last Saturday. He tried to contact the major crime unit, wasn't able to. Ended up running around town and ended up finding Stellarton RCMP officers, and they took him down and went to the detachment, the Stellarton RCMP detachment. They have the outdoor phone, and he said that the Stellarton police officer picked up and said that we have somebody here that wants to give statements in the Jack and Lilly case. And so then the staff sergeant came out and he called for 2 other officers, and then they came and they took his statement. So if that's why you're asking, why does Kent know if he's not allowed, that's all I asked. If that's what you're referring to, like I say, I only know that because Darren told me that. And I believe him that he went to try it, and I would believe that there's not necessarily anybody in the office from the major crime unit on the weekends. I understand that totally, because sometimes although we are supposed to have 24/7 RCMP coverage in Pictou, because Pictou is police, the town of Pictou is policed by the Pictou RCMP. Sometimes our officers cover, and when I say across the causeway, is because the majority of Pictou County is located on the eastern side of what is Pictou Harbor and Middle River. They put a causeway in the 60s. So then we have, as soon as you come across the causeway, you have the town of Pictou. And then once you get out of the town limits, you're back into the western part of Pictou County. So the layout of it is like that. And like I say, I know just the regular RCMP coverage, sometimes, like I say, we're supposed to have 24/7 coverage. But sometimes when something happens, that coverage has to come from Stellarton because there's not a physical officer in a vehicle in the town of Pictou 24/7. So I hope that is what the question you were asking about. If not, repeat it and I'll see if I can answer it.
It's about
Like I
Jackie.
say, there's a bunch of people asking questions in here, and I believe if you were all here since last Saturday, the lives that have been done, I think with what I just said about Darren trying to reach the RCMP, I would say that everything that Darren told me last Saturday morning when he came to my house, we talked for 2 hours, and because I couldn't go meet him somewhere because I got no wheels right now. So he came to me, and just to have a chat about what was going on and whatnot. And we chatted. And I think that I probably summarized everything that what we talked about. But if not, I'm a talker. There's a couple people in the chat. They've hit me up on Messenger. And as long as you're going to message me and not attack me or not threaten me, I will answer if I know and tell you that I know it. Because, like I say, everybody asks me if I've been up there since. No, I have no wheels. The rear end went out of my truck. I'm trying to get it done next weekend because we have a festival, which I volunteered at for 35 years. And next weekend, if there's lives, you won't see me because I won't have time. But I think the people that are in the chat that have private messaged me on Facebook, you've got my real name. And like I say, if you think that there's something that I'm holding back that Darren told me, because like I say, from what he told me, and what he said when he came on back on the live the other night, everything that I know, he told me, and I've summarized for you. So I think the people that are in the chat, because there's 3 or 4 of them, have messaged me and said, well, what do you think? And I told them. So, like, contact me privately, but just don't go on and on and on and say, oh, well, Darren told Kent stuff, but he can't, and he won't tell us, or he can't, or Kent won't say it. I'm telling you, and I've told you everything that Darren has told me. If you don't believe me, that's your prerogative. I don't care. I care about trying to bring the attention to the case and find out what we can do to get these kids brought home. I was never in true crime until this case. It hit my county. That's why I'm involved. When this case is over, will I stay involved? I don't know. I think it's interesting sometimes, but it can also be hard on the head. With people, like when Daniel told us in messages that people, those messages that he first sent to Charmaine, and then the next morning, like, he was calling Charmaine at 6 o'clock their time, not realizing that she was still sleeping, to get the stuff taken down because people were attacking Malaya. I don't think anybody has the right to attack anybody online until, and then you don't even still have the right, but you can express your opinion once the case is solved.
Now, Belynda, I want to go back and get us on track here. And thank you, Kent. I want to get us back on track here. You were there 3 days total.
Yes.
On the 18th day, because I do want to bring this, like, meaning you have to always look at both sides, right? Like we keep doing. Okay, well, let's look at Malaya's side. Let's look at Daniel's side. We believe that it's family involvement. That's our opinions. That's how we feel. So we can have that. So if we're looking at that and trying to look at it in a fair way of not in the woods, not here, okay, what makes the most sense? So on the 18th, can you tell us about, were you finished talking about the 3rd, by the way?
Basically, yeah. Logan just filled me in on how Malaya had left. That they don't know what's going on. She was all set to go to her place, and Cindy said something to her. They don't know what it is, but Cindy said something to her, and just like that, Malaya up and left. And she said she took her Facebook down. And that kind of surprised me. So later on that night, I checked, and yes, I found out that she had taken her Facebook down, and she wasn't responding to me at all.
Now,
So
still going again?
I called a friend, and I got her to check Malaya's Facebook, and she stated that the Facebook's down, but she'll reach out through Messenger. I was also blocked on Messenger with Malaya. So she reached out and Malaya reached back, and Malaya's words were, I think I had sent them to you, that if Belynda wants to know that me and Meadow are safe, and if Belynda wants to know anything about her grandchildren, she can contact the RCMP.
Exactly. Okay.
Now that's, do you take that statement as weird
ahead,
too?
Ken.
Because I would.
I did. Right away I did, and I assumed that it must have been Cindy that had Malaya's phone.
Right.
That's the only thing I could figure, because Malaya would never word it that way.
Okay.
She would call them her kids anyway. She wouldn't say if she wants to know anything about her grandchildren. I know the Malaya I knew would never word it like that.
Yeah.
So I assume maybe Cindy was the one that sent that message.
Yeah. If you could just talk about the 18th and about the dog. Remember not barking?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
I think that was Monday. My sister drove me up there. We didn't go there to search that time. I see no point in searching any further once Malaya had left. I wanted to go and I wanted to speak to Daniel. So my sister took me there. She dropped me off. I walked towards the trailer. Janie come out of the trailer and asked who I was. And as I was stating who I was, Daniel come out and said that that's Belynda, Cody's mom. So he come out and I said, I hope you talk to me. And he said, I will. He said, I don't want to talk here. Let's go out in the driveway further. So that's what we did. We walked out to the middle of the driveway. And I told him that I had tried contacting Malaya and she did block me. And he said, yeah, he said, weird, isn't it? Then he proceeded to tell me that the whole thing is strange. And he thinks Cindy and Malaya's half sister had something to do with it, because he said the whole thing just doesn't make sense to him. And then he proceeded to tell me of how he searched. Now, I have to say that part struck me weird, because as he was telling me how he searched Friday, he was telling me word for word what I heard on the TV interviews. And I mean, it was basically word for word. And that struck me as off. That just struck me as totally off. Right down to the culverts, the dirt roads, waist deep in the water, word for word. And I thought that was really, really odd. And it wasn't until after I left that I noticed there was no dog barking. But I had asked Daniel when I was there anyway. That was not the thought. When I was there, I asked Daniel what kind of a dog his mom had. Because I said, if somebody come into the property and took the kids, I said, wouldn't your mom's dog bark? Because it barked all day Saturday. It would stop barking. And he said, well, that's the thing. He said, mom's dog didn't bark and it didn't wake her up. I said, well, then I can't see somebody being able to take the kids, because I said the dog should bark. He said, exactly.
Unless they were quiet enough. And I'm not saying that somebody came in from the road, but if Darren's situation proves to be correct with Malaya getting the kids to the end of the driveway quiet enough that, and maybe that's because Daniel did say that the dog was what woke his mother up, but it might have been when the vehicle's door was shut and then the dog barked and then woke Janie up, and that's when Janie was outside.
Could be.
I'm just wondering, like, I'm not saying that that's a definite.
It could be. The only way the kids could be taken off the property is if they were harmed and carried off, or if they were walked out. The dogs only found evidence of the kids in the yard out to the end of the driveway, nowhere else.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, the other thing I think, and this is just trying to corroborate some of what Darren is saying for the people in the chat, Melinda, is Darren had said that Janie, the night before the kids went missing, filled a pothole with some of the gravel from the bank that is along the side, like on her, where her RV is.
Right.
Did you see that spot filled in on the Saturday when you were there?
I didn't take notice of it, no.
Okay.
Yeah, I did not take notice of it. When I heard his story about that and the boot print, I didn't even take notice of the boot print in the yard. I wasn't looking for boot. It didn't even dawn on me to look for boot prints in the yard. I mean, the kids played there, lived there.
Yeah. No, I know what you'd be worried about is
right.
the kids themselves. So
Right. What struck me is they're all stating she left through the back door for the boot print to be where it's at. Why wouldn't she have gone out the front door? She'd bypass Janie's place and it would be right out to the road then.
is it noisier door?
I don't know because it was open the whole time that I was going
Yeah.
there. The door
I'm
was
just
left
asking,
open.
like,
Yeah, so I don't know.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Belynda. Like, I mean, I know that Daniel has his things, Malaya said her things, Darren has said his things, so I thank you for giving your insight to this as well. I was torn.
Is Earl Daniel's father?
Yes, Earl is Daniel's father.
that's where the Martell comes from. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Can I tell you that Malaya's Facebook is back up again? Remember, it was down yesterday.
It's back up again.
Yep, I was just looking at it. I'm back up again, Malaya. Come on, what's with the games? What's the games, Malaya? Up, down. You're single. You're not. Well, no, you're single. You're adding people. I don't know why Daniel's not looking for your kid. Shame on him. Bad. Daniel.
If Malaya's listening, I hope to God she just gets her head together and steps forward and states everything she knows and let the chips fall. It'll take a whole lot of load off of her.
Yeah. Well, we can only hope and pray if she has anything to do with the disappearance of it. But I want to say something that I said before, you guys, because a lot of people think that somehow Malaya, that Daniel did something to the kids and she wanted out of there. And her mom freaking bolted and said that, right? Now that was a good thought up until Malaya in those texts said, I don't know why Daniel. Wait, what was that? Sunny, she took off her Amber Alert post. Somebody said that actually, that she took off her Amber Alert post. Again, this stupid, weird crap that's going on. But so I'm going back to my point there, like I said earlier, because I just want to point that out. That, okay, obviously from that point of view, Malaya doesn't think that Daniel did anything to those kids at all, because she said, why isn't Daniel looking for my kids? Why is he so focused on his own perception, basically, or what people are thinking about him? But why isn't Daniel focusing on my kids? Like that in itself, come on, right? That means that she doesn't believe Daniel did anything. So that means probably it's more likely that Malaya did something, to be honest with you. And actually, my thing is this. Regardless of taking Darren's information and all the stuff going on, I still think the most likely, I thought it was Daniel at first, honestly. No, that's not true. I believe Daniel for quite a long time, like in a sense. I felt like I kept looking at his emotions, and it's kind of like how the behavioral panel was today with his, I know it's an interview, and you guys can say what you want about that. Well, actually, we'll go to that poll in a sec. But honestly, I was trying to look for this evil monster in there and this whatever. I wasn't seeing it. I was seeing this more soft-spoken whatever. Now, in saying that, so then, of course, it became, wait a second. Well, wait, no. I mean, you got to look at Daniel, obviously, too. And you're trying to make sense of this timeline that's so confusing. And that's why I keep flip-flopping, because I always was trying to believe Daniel. Malaya's looking like the liar in her interview, but yet the information is wacky about the timeline. And it feels like nobody is telling the truth, right? So how do you make sense out of nonsense? You don't.
Oh, well, that part's true.
Go ahead.
Her whole interview was definitely off. But he also gave the interview of the we.
We, yeah. Right. We. Well, that's the thing. Is that
I mean, so right off the bat, if he's stating that we,
yeah,
and he was protecting her, well, that was the very first morning. What was he protecting her from? She sent her kids off with a couple of friends. The police turn around and go back. We don't need you. She sent the kids off. It's not an emergency. They're not missing. But
right.
what? He went along with the we right from day one because he was protecting her, because he knew right from day one what she did. So that part of it doesn't make sense.
Right. And that's just it. That's why it would be so nice for you and Jamie, let her tell us. Let us put it out there publicly. Unless she like really doesn't want to. But that's, people are just frustrated with who's lying, who's saying what. You can't make hide nor hair. But when you have a timeline, and if Jamie's a truthologist and just a stand-up woman on that, like I said, and if she has it all on her phone, you know what? Put it out there, honestly. Just make people back you up. If Janie, if you and Daniel, if you guys feel that you had nothing to do with the kid's disappearance, then right, it comes back to you got nothing to hide then. So what do you have to hide? Let it out. Just
But
let out
Sonny,
the time. What?
No, I was just gonna say, do you know the easiest thing that I can understand that some people don't want to come online and whatnot, but the easiest thing is, Jeannie, if you're out there and if you want to, you're putting your information out through Darren anyway.
Yeah.
So send Darren or Belynda some screenshots of your timeline.
That's a beautiful idea.
You don't have to come and put up with the people online.
Well, not even that. She could do it the same way I did it in the beginning. Just
send some screenshots and say, this is what I seen.
Go ahead.
Make up like a flow chart that this is what I seen and this was at this time, and have it a screenshot off your phone. Well, there's the receipt, people.
Well, and Daniel can do the same thing. Daniel, while you're with your mother, just do the time. Like, if you want to clear up.
But I'd rather have it from an independent source to either Belynda or Darren, because they're outside of the two viable suspects in the case.
Right.
People, if Darren was to say that, or if Daniel was to come out with those screenshots, the first thing people would be saying, "Oh, they're fake. They're fake."
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But we went through that bullshit already. So.
If they're from Cindy and they're to Belynda or Darren, and then Darren can share them with you.
Yeah.
I contacted, I come across a post on Facebook for Indigenous missing children. So I contacted them and sent them a flyer and asked if they would put it up on their site. I'm waiting to hear back.
We can't say this enough, right, Belynda? This is about Lilly and Jack. If you know something, say something. If you can do something to help out, please do. If you really care about this case, a like on the, of course, on the live, a share means a lot. Anything somebody can do to help keep the awareness of Jack and Lily's case is very much appreciated. So whichever way you can do that, again.
Would the area be Tatamagouche?
Tatamagouche.
I just confirmed that, I think, in the chat.
Well, I was going to say, because it's not like we haven't talked about Tatamagouche.
No, I know, but that's one of the locations that he speculated.
Yes, it was.
Like that was pure speculation.
It was.
And but there's family in that area that
Right.
are not necessarily native or indigenous people.
Right.
And that's why he was thinking that it might be Ambush.
I heard that somewhere else before too.
No, it was said. He's talked about it. He's
Okay.
already asked
Yeah.
about it.
But I
Yeah.
think about the family part being in Tabagush, like the name, well, not the name, but the initial. Now, people's going to be putting this back together and running back and listening to the live. There was a set of initials that
It wasn't
Darren spoke.
JS.
What was it?
I'm not
FN?
saying them.
No, it was
Darren spoke a
H-
set of initials to
H-
Sonny, and that.
HF.
Yes.
I'm just saying there may be a connection there. I'm not saying that there is, but if
Female.
you're able to figure out that
I know who
name,
it is. I know who it
then
is.
then you
Yeah.
may figure out the location in Tabagush.
Right.
Mhm.
I know who you're talking about now. Now that it's coming back to me. Because me and Darren did have a private conversation, and you've probably been told the same thing. So, so in saying that, that name was inside of that information. So
But it was all just speculation. It wasn't.
Yeah,
He
but it
didn't
was never
say that
put
it
out.
was.
Right. No.
Somebody was asking there. I think it was Little Mama. Did anybody see the children actually getting in the car? No.
She's here.
From the version of events that Darren has stated, Cindy just missed the car, or not Cindy,
Jane.
sorry, Jane just missed the car and caught Malaya at the end of the driveway, and that's when she looked stunned, as if, oh fuck, you're home. Oh, sorry.
Well, like I said, so hopefully on this one, again, kind of like what we just talked about, Belynda, that Janie can speak with you, give you
Yes.
the timeline, and perhaps take a screenshot or whatever, and then maybe perhaps she would like to share it on here. So I don't want to keep us. I don't want to keep you anymore. We've been on here for 4 hours and 16 minutes, and even though I got 2 days off now, but is there anything else? Well, you know what? Do me a favor. Actually, I want to hear this. Don't let me go yet. I want to hear about Jack and Lily. Please tell me, as their grandmother, about little Jack and Lily.
Well, the last time that they were here, Jack was just crawling around good and getting into everything.
Yeah.
He'd find toys, and he was a very quiet little boy. He'd just play with himself. Lily was very lively, bouncing around the kitchen. She mimicked me a lot, everything I did. Sadly, I gave up smoking and I took up vaping. She was very fascinated with that. So she'd go around and pick up anything she could find and put it in her mouth and pretend she was vaping. So then I had to hide my vaping away from her. She put my hats on. She wanted glasses like me. So I took an old pair of glasses and popped the lenses out. And when she was here, she'd run around the house with the glasses on.
Oh my God, are you talking about that? Where's my picture?
That's in one of the pictures, yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. She was very chatty, very excitable.
That was just
Do you know what their favorite nursery rhyme was, Belynda?
No, I don't.
Because I know a big thing, and I'm not saying that I believe them, but a big thing in a lot of the psychics right off the bat, they were saying you can find the hints to the locations from my favorite nursery rhyme. And I always wondered if I mentioned to Sonny a few times.
And I don't remember Malaya ever stating a nursery rhyme in front of me for them to pick up on and hear. So that must have been later on, because, I don't know.
So did they ever, here's a question for you. I just thought it. Did they ever stay at your place, or when was the last time that they stayed overnight? Did they ask you to
They
read?
no, they've never stayed overnight. They've only ever spent the days here.
Okay.
The last time they were here was Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And that's when she told me that she was going to leave them. And she was going to her mom's because she was going to speak to her grandmother to see if she could move back in there. And she did. She was gone for 2 days. I never stated nothing to my son about it. That was between them.
Yeah.
She stayed at her mom's, I think, for 2 days, and then she come back and she told my son that she was leaving.
Okay. And I'm not trying to pry too deep, and if you don't know or don't want to answer this, that's fine too. Do you know how long afterwards she broke up with Cody that she met Daniel, or do you know?
She
Like
said,
we know that they
She,
met through a mutual friend, but
when she broke up with Cody and was back at her mom's, it was about 6 to 7 months when she told me she's going to start dating again. And I told her I thought it was a wonderful idea. And she had met somebody. She posted pictures of them. They were together only for a couple of months, and she told me that it didn't work out, that she just found him a little overbearing, and she wasn't happy with the way he was around the kids. So that ended, and it was only about possibly a month, maybe a month and a half, when she stated she met Darren, or Daniel, sorry. Yeah.
okay.
so, okay. So, I mean, the bus driver said that Jax threw his boot at him to get his attention.
Yeah.
You're not listening to me. But yet, he just seems so quiet mannered.
I'd have to say it blew my mind because, like I said, he was a very sober baby that you really had to work to get him to smile. And I just put it down to his temperament that he was studying you. But then after the separation and she was living at her grandmother's, I noticed that he never smiled a whole lot. And just about all the pictures she posted out, Jack would very rarely smile. The only time I noticed Jack smiling was when he started school. And then it seemed like every picture she posted, he was smiling.
And that's probably because he was getting to learn stuff that he liked, like bugs, because then they learn about that stuff in those first grades, right?
I put it down to, I know of a family whose children loved school, and it was because they weren't happy at home. They couldn't wait to go to school.
Yeah.
And that's what it made me think of him, that school was a safe space where he could be him.
Because this is what it's about, Lily and Jack. And for me, it's like, like I know that we saw the birthday video, Belynda, right? Okay. I heard like some lungs.
Yes, she
Okay.
she acquired those lungs because she used to squeal here, but not that piercing squeal.
Well, let me ask you this. What did you think about Daniel's face in that birthday video? Because he was like.
Now, I heard some people mention about this video, the birthday video, and stating that Daniel had a very evil look on his face. So
I don't think so.
I had to go into and blow it up so I could see what they were talking about. And I seen a smirk on his face.
I saw a smirk.
Right. And the smirk, the way I read it is, now you guys get to hear what I'm listening to all the time.
Yeah, that could be the case too.
That's what the smirk said to me anyway when I seen it. That's what I thought.
When I I was gonna say, and Kent, you can say yours in a second here, but when I saw that too, like people were saying about this evil look, I didn't see that. What I saw was for the first half of her screaming was Daniel going, "Wow, whoa, you go on," like, just listening to her, and then she kept doing it, and then his eyebrows kind of went up and was like almost like, ugh. And it reminded me of when someone's going, "Is anyone going to tell her to knock it off?" Because he's just getting there making these facials, and then all of a sudden the one person comes in and says, Lily, stop, and I'm like, took you long enough to say that, because those were ear-piercing screams. But watching Daniel's face, like the first half and then the second half, and I just thought to myself, because normally, right, like a mother, I would have been like, like to my son, like, Matt, stop, right? You kind of would have laughed it off a little bit, but like I said, it's almost like there was two parts to that: the first face of Daniels and the second face of Daniels. But I didn't see it as evil. I just saw it as someone going, "Yeah, there she goes," and then I came to like, "Okay, Lily, are you?" But he never said anything. He just had that look on his face, like, "Oh, that hurts the ears," type of thing. Oh, that was
Yeah.
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 Oh, that was some good screaming on her part there. Ooh, honestly, when I put that part in a video, I had to put it to like 90% down. Just so I didn't blow out the ears. I was like, I think in that video I said, I'm doing you guys a favor here. Right.
And to hear the bus driver actually stated that he had a reminder a couple of times. We don't do that on the bus.
Yeah. I don't know what Lana. You got to help me on this one. I suck. I don't know how to get to your thing. I always pretend like I know how, but I really don't. I only made it there because Charmaine sent me the link before for the vigil. It's the only reason why I was like, Charmaine, having anxiety here, Charmaine, like, what are you doing? Hurry up, please, Charmaine. Like, is this live for the vigil happening? Like, what's going on? Right? Because we're not Facebookers per se. Right. So when that vigil was happening, Belynda, like I said, we were just kind of panicking, going, "Is the live happened already?" Because usually so normally when we go to an RCMP live or something like that, right, we just go to their Facebook, the RCMP, and then we just watch it from there instantly. But we couldn't make hide nor hair if we were on the right page to watch it. And then finally it showed up, right? Oh, you know what? Speak about that vigil a little bit, if you don't mind. Just quickly. So, Daniel was there, and you said he had no clue you were even going to be there. He let you put out a lantern.
So he really didn't know I was going to be there. Did he tell you that?
No, I thought you told me that.
Oh, okay. Yes. I'm sorry. I wasn't listening. I was reading the comments.
My bad.
I'm guilty of Kent's thing now.
Yeah, you had said that
Yeah,
he had that look,
but
like,
yeah, he had a look that he was not expecting to see me there.
right. And I mean, and then you got, like I said, and then he offered it. I look like from
Yes,
watching it.
Lana come to me and she said, "Look," she said, "Daniel was going to let the lanterns go, but he says that maybe you should be the one to let them go."
Isn't that okay? Come on now.
And was Lily as stubborn in real life as she was when you were trying to let that lantern go?
Oh my
Well,
God! Yes.
now you know what? I didn't take that as stubborn. I'd have to say that oh God, it's hard to say. It was like she was telling me she didn't want to go.
Well, that's what I mean by stubborn. I didn't mean as literally, but she didn't want to go. Yeah, that's the sense that we all got from.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just because we don't know what or if we missed anything, did anybody other than Constable Mason speak? Because that part sort of went down
No,
and then it came back when.
no, he was the only one that spoke. I went over and spoke to a couple of constables just to see if they had any information, and they told me that they know nothing about the case now. It's totally out of their hands, that they have no information. It's strictly under the crime unit.
But anyways, I just want to say, again, it's so much nicer when people just are nice to each other. You know, hey, use my content. Thanks so much. You know, thanks so much for the shout out. You know, and just kind of like, what do you just ask you? Okay. So what would you like to, in a sense, lastly say about everything at the moment?
I would like to thank everybody for keeping Lily and Jack's name out there. I really appreciate all your guys' prayers. It means a lot. And spread the word as far as you can and hope it goes to as many people as possible. I thank you guys very much.
Belynda, I would like to say thank you for helping us get the information that you have, for being strong for Jack and Lily. Several times on here in different lives, we had made a plea at the end of the live, as you probably know, for Malaya to come forward.
Yes.
And I would just like you to take a minute and speak. If someone that knows Malaya, or if Malaya is watching this, I would like Belynda to have a minute to directly plea to her. And what would you say?
Malaya, I've always thought of you as a great mom. And if you got in too deep and things got out of hand, it's okay. Things can be fixed. We just need to bring the kids home. You need to bring the kids home.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is nothing.
Well said.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, on that note, I bid you guys good night.
On that note, Belynda, thank you so much and for being here. And I'll talk to you later. Let you go rest now. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A big thank you to all the channels that did the right thing and give this channel a shout out since my last video. It's about Lily and Jack and helping each other find out who was lying and why, and helping find out what happened to the children. Also, a massive thank you to all the new subscribers. Please like and share this video. We need to keep people talking and stop this case from going cold. See you all in the channel's next video. Stay safe.